Zoe. I'm going to cook oxtail with tomatoes. Delicious dish. And I'm going to use two different types of tomatoes, the Perinos, and I've even got some tomato passata as well. But to start with, I've got the oxtail, which is a secondary cut. It used to be really cheap, but everyone's cooking with them now, so it's not so cheap. There we go.
It's like bone broth, which is stock.
Exactly. Now, over there, some salt and some extra virgin olive oil. I want you to pour some on here. So we sort of season the oxtail and get a bit of oil into it.
The Asian version of how much salt.
Load it up. Load it up. Get it all on there and some olive oil on there. I've got 2 pans here. You can do it with one. I would normally brown the oxtail off, then take it out and then get everything else going. But using 2 pans, it all happens a lot quicker. Now, I'll just give that a bit of a turnaround like this. What we want to do is brown that oxtail off. You can hear that sizzle. Oh, yeah. It's still alive. There we go.
You got bouncing oxtail.
You can hear that sizzle and that sear. That's what you want to hear. And now that I've got the oxtail in there, I'll start to add some extra virgin olive oil because I want that really nice and brown.
Yeah.
Now, the oxtail you can get from your butcher shop, and he can cut it up for you. Often it's something you might have to pre-order. Not all butchers have it, although my butcher has plenty of it. And I'm just going to turn that around. And you can see already, it's a really hot pan. We're starting to get some colour on it. Over there, Zoe, onions and garlic. Nice dice of onion. And with the garlic, I want you to smash that, and we'll get it ready in the pan here.
I love this knife.
It's a great knife, one of my favourites. I've got smoky bacon that I've cut into nice, large chunks. And then I'll put a little bit of olive oil in there for more flavour. You get great flavour from olive oil, and everything we put in here is just going to be adding flavour.
Yeah, nice.
You like that? You like that knife smashing garlic, don't you?
I love this knife.
I'll turn that over like that. And now I'll just get some thyme with this knife here. I just take the tops of the thyme off. Oh, that's nice and soft, and that'll wilt down or soften up beautifully. In it goes into the pan here. The thyme sort of mixes with the bacon and the olive oil. Can you hear all that sizzle, Zoe?
It's music. Food music.
Are you going to sing to me while we cook? There we go. It's like the singing kitchen now.
I'm a frustrated singer, you see.
Oh, you're a wonderful singer, Zoe. You can sing as much as you want. Now, as we're cooking this, I add a little bit of salt, keeping in mind that the bacon is a salty product. That's how they cure it. So you don't want to add too much salt to it. Did I actually say that?
Did you say that?
I can't believe I said that.
That was Adrian. Just rewind.
And plenty of pepper goes on there as well. I mean, this is a big, robust dish that's going to cook for a while. Now, over there, I've got some basil leaves, Zoe, if you can get them. And just pick off about half the bunch. Just rip them off. We don't have to do much else. Look at that. No. Is that looking good? It looks like something I might even just break a couple of eggs into and cook for breakfast. Now, the oxtail is coming up beautifully, and what I'll do, Zoe, is grab some of this celery and carrot that's been diced up beautifully, and I'll throw it in with the oxtail, and I'll just stir that around a little bit. You can already see the oxtail's browning up, and you can almost smell how sweet it is. And if you can take the tops off those 2 tomato punnets, or Perinos, we'll get them ready to go in as well. And what I'll do with these, they're great just salads, they're great just to snack on, but you can cook with them as well, and it's amazing how firm they stay and how they hold up to the, nice amount of cooking.
So sweet. It's beautiful.
And, of course, over there, Zoe, I know you're avoiding the topic, but there is something yellow and square sitting there. There we go. If you can pop that down there, and I'll show you how to use this product, Zoe. This is what we call butter, and we take off a nice big slab of it.
I know how to use it. I just don't know how to use that quantity of it.
Well, I wouldn't say that's much. Well, look, I've got enough oxtail here for about 4 people. And that amount of butter would be nicely evenly distributed amongst the 4 people. So that would be a reasonable amount. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do, Zoe, is start adding some liquids. I've got some white wine I'll grab here. And a nice big splush of white wine. Look, about a cup of white wine goes in there, and you can see that's coming up to the boil straight away.
You can smell that alcohol when it hits the heat.
And I've got a cup of stock in there. You can use water if you want, but passata as well. What I want to do is thin it down a little bit, because this will cook.
It's so strange, because I can actually hear myself think now as well.
As soon as the liquid went in there, it did soften up. Now, what I'll do with this is pop the onions and the bacon and the butter and the thyme straight on there, turn this jet off, and you can see it's all coming up to the boil fairly quickly. Being oxtail, you can imagine the tail does a lot of work shooing away all the flies. That's its job. So it is quite a tough cut of meat, so it needs to cook nice and low and slow. About 2 hours at about 175 degrees Celsius, and it should be nice and tender. You know our test where we put the fork in there, and when it comes off the bone nice and smooth, we know it's ready. On goes a lid like that. We can already see that it's coming up to the boil. So, Zoe, I'm going to ask you to do the honours, my dear. The singing chef and the singing door opener. If you can open that up, I'll pop this into the oven and we'll get this cooking. Have a look at this, Zoe. It looks great.
That does look good. It's
Really?
hearty.
Exactly.
Really hearty. This is actually my dad's favourite dish, oxtail stew. He comes from a
Okay.
farming family in England, and it was these secondary cuts were the cheap cuts, but they made them so tasty.
Well, I've made it really, really tasty using one of my favourite ingredients, the tomato. It's amazing how much colour the tomato gives a dish, and you can really smell it coming off there as well.
Really, really has. And look, the colour, if the tomato's actually gone through to the actual meat itself, it looks fantastic.
There we go, have a little taste of that one. And that's the thing, you know, when the meat falls off the bone like that, you can see how tender that is. That's probably the most important thing when you're cooking an oxtail like this.
You know what, I want to eat this with a big thing of mashed potatoes. It's like, it just is perfect. You know, Adrian, 2 stunning tomato dishes. You know, that little tart we could have as the entree, and we could have this as the main course.
I reckon with some polenta, or maybe even some pasta stirred through there, or some rice, we could even go on. Crusty bread, I think we've done some great dishes.
Me too.